All right, strap in everyone, because today we're diving headfirst into teleportation.
Yeah, we're going deep on this one.
Exactly. We've got a whole collection of first-hand accounts.
From hypnotized subjects.
You got it. People who claim they've actually experienced teleportation.
It's wild stuff.
It really is. Now, I know you've been poring over these accounts.
Oh, yeah. Spent a lot of time with them.
So before we get into the specifics,
Mhm.
I'm curious, what's the overall vibe? What are some of the big takeaways?
You know, it's amazing. Despite how different the experiences are,
Uh-huh.
there are some pretty clear common threads running through them.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics, the nitty-gritty.
Sure.
How do these people actually describe the feeling of teleporting? What's it like?
Well, you get a real mix. Some describe it as this physical disintegration.
Whoa.
Yeah, like they're being taken apart and put back together at their destination.
Wow.
One even said it was like being split into subatomic particles.
Okay, that's intense.
Yeah.
Anything a little less disassembling?
Yeah. Others talk about it as a sudden consciousness shift,
Yeah.
like a quantum leap or traveling through an energy tunnel.
Interest.
And a lot of them use really vivid imagery.
Like what?
Things like merging triangles, feeling like a spirit, or buzzing energy fields.
So all over the map, but with some overlaps, like you said.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, what about the tech side of things? Any consistency in how they describe that?
It's funny you should ask that because, yeah, there are some commonalities there too.
Oh, this is good. Tell me more.
A bunch of them talk about a scanning device.
A scanner. What does it do?
It's like it captures the person's blueprint down to the molecule.
Whoa, like a super high-tech 3D printer for people.
Exactly. They make a perfect copy before sending you across space.
That's wild. Anything else?
Lots of them describe energy gates, or crystals.
Crystals, like mystical crystals.
Seems like it.
So we've got a bit of the mystical mixed in with the super science.
Yeah, it's an interesting blend.
Now, I gotta ask, we are talking about people under hypnosis, right?
Right.
So, I mean, their descriptions are probably going to be colored by their own,
Subconscious interpretations and beliefs.
Exactly. It's like their minds are trying to make sense of something that might be totally beyond us right now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we need to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
But still, it's fascinating how some of these concepts, even the crazy-sounding ones,
Uh-huh.
they actually line up with some theoretical ideas in physics.
Right, like about manipulating energy and space-time.
Exactly. So maybe there's a grain of truth hidden in all this.
Is possible.
I like the way you think.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something before about AI.
Oh, yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
Lay it on me.
A lot of these accounts, they point to AI being involved in the whole teleportation process.
AI running the show. Tell me more.
Some subjects describe this self-sufficient AI managing everything. And they even suggest it might be extraterrestrial.
Okay, now we're going deep down the rabbit hole. So we've got teleportation,
Uh-huh.
possibly controlled by some super advanced AI.
Potentially from another planet.
It's mind-blowing. But it also kind of makes you wonder,
About what?
well, if this is real, if it's really happening,
Right.
do we even understand what we're dealing with?
That's a huge question.
It's a little unnerving, to be honest,
I get that.
to think we might be at the mercy of something we can barely grasp.
It's a valid concern, for sure.
Okay, so we've got the feeling of teleporting, the tech, the AI angle.
Yep.
What else have you dug up from these accounts?
Ooh, this is where things get a little spooky.
Ooh, I like spooky. Hit me.
Several subjects describe events that, if they're true,
Yeah.
would totally rewrite history as we know it.
All right, now I'm really hooked. What kind of events are we talking about?
For instance, one subject claims that Adolf Hitler was teleported during World War II.
Wait, what? Hitler? Teleporting? Are you serious?
That's what this person claims under hypnosis.
Wow.
They even say he was implanted with negative energy during the process.
Okay, now that's just creepy.
Right.
Any other historical events that came up?
Yeah, quite a few mention the Philadelphia experiment.
Oh, I've heard about that. The whole ship disappearing thing. Right.
That's the one.
Didn't it, go horribly wrong?
Well, according to these accounts, yeah.
What happened?
It wasn't just invisibility. They claim the ship actually teleported.
Whoa.
And it had some really bad consequences for the crew.
Like what?
Some describe sailors merging with the ship's metal.
Okay, that is disturbing.
Yeah, not good.
But I mean, come on, how much can we really believe these historical claims?
Right, that's the million-dollar question.
It's also wild.
It is, but it's important to remember these are based on hypnotic regression,
Uh-huh.
which is, a pretty controversial technique.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got to be careful, analyze these claims within their historical context,
Right.
and be aware of potential misinformation, exaggeration.
I hear a healthy dose of skepticism is always a good thing.
Absolutely, but even with a critical eye, it's hard to ignore the implications here.
Of what?
Well, if teleportation has been used in the past,
Uh-huh.
it raises some serious ethical questions about how it could be used now and in the future.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Mhm.
So let's dive into those ethical considerations next.
Sounds good.
What are some of the darker possibilities that these accounts bring up?
Some subjects describe scenarios that are honestly pretty terrifying.
Like what?
Things like human abduction for slave labor on other planets,
Oh, wow.
forced organ harvesting, even replacing high-ranking officials with clones or doubles for political reasons.
It's straight out of a sci-fi dystopia. It's chilling.
It is, and it really highlights the huge responsibility that comes with this kind of power.
Totally. If teleportation is real and it gets out there,
Yeah,
we need some serious ethical guidelines to make sure it's not abused.
couldn't agree more.
All right, so we've got the dark side,
Mm-hmm.
but these accounts also touch on something else, something a little more hopeful.
What's that?
The idea that people might actually have their own teleportation abilities.
Ah, yes, that's where the conversation takes a more metaphysical turn.
Right, like maybe we all have this hidden potential just waiting to be unlocked.
Exactly.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
But is there any, like, scientific basis for it?
Well, from a purely scientific standpoint, not really.
Okay.
But some of these accounts, they go into these metaphysical concepts,
Like what?
suggesting that teleportation used to be common,
Right.
but that modern technology and denser energy fields have kind of blocked it.
So, our modern world is actually holding us back from our teleportation superpowers.
It's a fascinating idea, right?
It is. It makes you wonder about what we're capable of.
Absolutely. It raises all sorts of questions about human potential
Yeah.
and how consciousness influences reality.
Okay, now we're really pushing the boundaries here. But it's exciting
It
to
is.
think that teleportation might not just be a physical thing, but something deeper, something connected to our minds.
Right. Something more than just moving matter from point A to point B.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to, well, the future.
The future of teleportation.
Yeah. What do these hypnotized folks have to say about that? What are they predicting?
Well, according to them, the future of teleportation might be closer than we think.
Oh, really?
Do tell.
They suggest that it'll become widely available and sooner than we might expect.
Teleportation for everyone. That's wild. But how would that even work?
Well, they say it'll start with the elite governments, big corporations, the super rich.
So teleportation as a privilege for the powerful.
Exactly, and that's one of their big concerns.
Of it.
That teleportation could make inequality even worse.
Right, a teleportation divide.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The haves zipping around while the have-nots are stuck in traffic.
Not a future I'm looking forward to.
No, not ideal.
Beyond that, what else do they see happening?
Well, they predict some major social and economic disruptions.
Like what?
Think about transportation industries, urban planning, even international relations.
Whoa. Yeah, everything changes.
Pretty much.
And what about the environment? Good or bad for the planet?
That's a big question. Some think it'll be a huge energy drain.
Possibly making climate change worse.
Yeah, that's a worry.
But others believe it could actually be good for the environment
How so?
by reducing our dependence on things like cars and planes.
So a lot of unknowns, a lot of potential upsides and downsides
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to be thinking about this now.
before it's too late.
Exactly. We need to be prepared for the challenges and the opportunities.
Okay, so we've got teleportation, maybe becoming mainstream, big societal shifts.
Yep.
But on a personal level, how do they think it'll affect our lives?
Well, they say it'll fundamentally change the way we live, work, interact with the world.
In what way?
Imagine commuting to another city for work, visiting family across the globe,
Right.
even going to a concert on the moon, all in an instant.
That's some serious Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be, like, super disorienting?
Potentially, yes. Some subjects do worry about the psychological and emotional effects
Of what?
of all that rapid travel, losing
Ah.
that connection to place, feeling rootless.
Right, like, where do you even belong if you can be anywhere in a blink?
Exactly. It's almost a warning not to lose our humanity in all this technological advancement.
That's a good point, something to keep in mind for sure.
Definitely. And it brings us back to that question of consciousness.
Right, if we can teleport our bodies, what happens to our sense of self?
It's a big one, and these accounts offer some really interesting perspectives.
Like what?
Some believe our consciousness is tied to our physical form.
So teleporting would be like dying and being reborn?
That's one way of looking at it.
Wow.
Others think our consciousness is separate. It can exist independently.
So like a mind-body split?
Exactly. Teleportation would just be transferring that consciousness to a new location.
Okay, now that is some deep stuff.
It is, and that's what I find so valuable about these accounts.
What do you mean?
They make us confront these fundamental questions about reality, about what it means to be human.
I like that. It's more than just the science of teleportation.
Right, it's about the bigger picture.
Well, this has been quite a journey so far.
It has.
We've gone from the mechanics of teleportation to the ethics, the history, even the metaphysics.
We've covered a lot of ground.
And while we don't have all the answers,
We don't.
I think we've gained a much deeper understanding of just how complex and mysterious this whole topic is.
I agree. It's a fascinating puzzle.
It really is. So what's next? Where do we go from here?
Well, in our next part, we'll delve deeper into some of the most fascinating individual accounts.
Oh, I can't wait. We'll hear about intergalactic diplomacy, terrifying experiments, even glimpses of time distortion.
It's going to be a wild ride.
I'm ready for it. So, to all our listeners out there, stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into teleportation.
We'll be right back after a short break.
And one thing that really jumps out when you go through these stories
Yeah?
is just how different everyone's experience is.
Right. It's not like there's a one-size-fits-all teleportation experience.
Exactly. It's all over the map.
Okay, well, let's hear about some of these standout cases then.
What are some of the most memorable accounts that came up?
Well, there's this one, it's super vivid.
Lay it on me.
The subject claims they were teleported to another planet.
Whoa, another planet. Like, for real.
That's what they say, as part of some kind of diplomatic mission.
Intergalactic diplomacy. Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
So they describe this world, it's lush, green, just beautiful.
Nice.
And the beings there, they're peaceful, advanced, super welcoming.
Sounds idyllic.
Yeah, they had these discussions about philosophy, technology, the future of humanity.
That's amazing. Did they, share any details about their teleportation tech?
Funny enough, not really.
Oh.
It was more about the cultural exchange, the shared values between these two civilizations.
Interesting. So it was less about the nuts and bolts of the tech and more about building connections.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really cool concept.
It is.
Or what about some of the other accounts? Any that were maybe not so positive?
Yeah, there were a few that were pretty disturbing.
Okay, like
One subject described being abducted.
abducted.
Yeah, taken to some underground facility and experimented on.
Oh, no, that's awful. What kind of experiments?
They weren't able to give specifics,
Hmm,
but their whole account is just filled with fear and pain.
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, they felt totally violated, like a lab rat.
It's a dark reminder of how this technology could be abused.
Absolutely.
Any other disturbing ones?
Yeah, there's another one that really stuck with me.
What happened?
The subject claims they witnessed a political dissident being teleported away.
Wait, like made to disappear?
That's what it sounds like, silenced by teleportation.
That's scary. The potential for that kind of control is pretty frightening.
It is. It raises all sorts of questions about freedom and human rights.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good reminder that any technology can be used for good or evil.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got aliens, abductions, political intrigue. What else is in these accounts?
Well, there's one theme that came up a few times that I thought was particularly interesting.
What's that?
Time distortion.
Time distortion. Like time travel.
Well, not exactly time travel, but some subjects described experiencing time differently during teleportation.
How so?
Some said it felt instantaneous, like no time had passed at all. Others felt like time was stretched or compressed, like they were in a different dimension.
Okay, now that is some mind-bending stuff.
Right. It suggests that teleportation might not just be about space, but also about manipulating time.
All right, so we've got triangles, benevolent beings, energy fields, underground facilities, and now time distortion.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Yeah.
But what I find so fascinating is that even with all these common themes,
Yeah.
each person's story is so unique, so personal.
It's true. Each account offers a different glimpse into this hidden world.
It's like we're getting these little pieces of a much larger puzzle.
Exactly. And each piece, no matter how strange or fantastical,
Yeah.
it challenges our understanding of what's possible.
I like that it's like these accounts are asking us to expand our definition of reality.
I think that's a big part of what makes this deep dive so compelling.
I agree. It's not just about the science or the technology, but about how teleportation might change our whole worldview.
Right. It forces us to confront some really big questions.
About ourselves, about the universe, about the nature of reality itself.
Exactly.
Well, I'm ready for the next piece of the puzzle.
Good, because in our last part, we're going to explore what these hypnotized subjects have to say about the future of teleportation.
Oh, the future, that's what I want to hear about. Will we all be teleporting to work? Vacationing on Mars? What do they see coming?
Well, their predictions are both exciting and a little bit unsettling. We'll get into all of that after the break.
It's wild, right? To think about teleportation actually becoming a part of our lives.
It really is. These accounts, they really get you thinking about what the future might hold.
Yeah, like imagine just being able to instantly go anywhere on Earth.
No more airports, no more traffic.
Exactly. You could explore the world, visit loved ones, experience different cultures, all so easily.
It could totally revolutionize how we live and work.
But then there's that other side,
Potential downsides.
Yeah, the misuse, the ethics, the whole social and economic upheaval it could cause.
It's a lot to consider.
It really is. And one thing that really stuck with me was the whole psychological aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Some people talked about feeling disoriented after teleporting,
Right.
like they'd lost their sense of place.
That makes sense, though, doesn't it? Our sense of self is so tied to where we are, our surroundings.
Yeah, it's like teleportation could mess with those fundamental connections.
Exactly. We might need to, prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally for that.
If it becomes a reality.
Yeah, if we're suddenly jumping all over the place.
It also brings up that question of consciousness again.
Right. If we can teleport our bodies, what does that mean for who we are, our identity?
It's a big one.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier, some folks think it's like dying and being reborn.
Yeah, while others see it as this transfer of consciousness.
Like a mind-body split. Man, it's really mind-blowing stuff to think about.
It is. These accounts really push the boundaries of what we understand about ourselves and the universe.
Well, this whole deep dive has been an incredible journey, that's for sure.
It has.
We've explored so much. The science, the ethics, the history, the possibilities for the future.
This has been quite a ride.
And while we might not have all the answers,
Of course not.
I think we've gained a much deeper appreciation for just how complex and mysterious this whole topic is.
I agree. It's a topic that really captures the imagination.
It does. And it's also a reminder that even with all our scientific advancements, there's still so much we don't know.
That's the beauty of it, right? There's always more to explore.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of teleportation.
It's been a pleasure.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll all be teleporting around like it's nothing.
Maybe someday.
Until then, keep your minds open, keep exploring, and keep those imaginations firing.
And keep an eye out for those shimmering portals. You never know where they might lead.
That's right, you never know. Thanks again for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.